I'll wait for him to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the El Cajon City Council meeting. The meeting is called to order. I'd like to ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
All council members are present.
Would you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a brief moment of silence afterwards? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get started with the meeting, I'd like to ask your indulgence. Steve and I both go to Skyline Church, and our pastor is named Jeremy McGarity, and his wife, Janie McGarity, recently passed from cancer. She was one of the nicest people I'd ever met, just truly never had a bad word to say about anybody, and she was so great for this community. She's also the daughter of Pastor Jim Garlow, and I just wanted to take a moment to recognize her service to the community and the fact that we're just going to be so sad that we've lost her. And Steve, did you want to say anything? Well, thank you for indulging us in that moment. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the May 13th, 2025 meeting and the agenda of the May 27th, 2025 meeting in accordance with state law, City Council and Housing Authority policy. We have one presentation on today's agenda for the Youth of the Year Award. Parks and Recreation Supervisor Tim Amelia will share with us all about this. Tim? Hello, Tim.
Hello, Council, Mayor Wells. As you mentioned, my name is Tim Amelia. I am the Parks and Recreation Supervisor based out of the Renette Recreation Center, and I am here today with our Teen Coalition. Teen Coalition is a service-based group of dedicated and passionate individuals from across our city that serve the community in various roles. Before I have the Teen Coalition present their annual Youth of the Year Awards, I'd like to briefly introduce each member that is here today. We have Vondella, Stella, Colette, Biene, and Vabian. And I'll turn it over to them at this time.
Hello.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Hi.
I would like to express my gratitude to Mayor Wells and the El Cajon City Council for providing the Teen Coalition the opportunity to present this year's Youth of the Year Awards. Every year, the Teen Coalition has the privilege of recognizing outstanding youth within our community. This year's recipients have consistently demonstrated strong leadership, a dedicated work ethic, and their ability to go above and beyond.
Each winner will receive a custom award as well as their name being engraved on the Youth of the Year plaque that is on display at City Hall. Today we will be announcing two winners for the 2025 Youth of the Year Award, one representing middle school and one representing high school.
For the Middle School Youth of the Year Award, the Teen Coalition would like to congratulate Christopher Long from Montgomery Middle School for being this year's Youth of the Year recipient. I'd like to welcome Chris and the 7th grade assistant principal from Montgomery Middle School up to the podium to receive the award.
Hello. I have had the privilege of being Christopher's assistant principal for the past 2 years. Christopher truly embodies the core values of Montgomery Middle School. As an active leader in ASB, he plays a key role in organizing student activities and bringing our campus community together. He is known for his respectful attitude, strong leadership, and compassionate heart. Christopher's actions inspire those around him and help create a school where everyone feels as though they belong. He also excels academically, earning a place on the honor roll through his hard work and dedication. We are incredibly proud of Christopher and all that he represents. So proud.
Wait, Christopher, would you like to introduce your family to us? And
So my mom is right there.
hi, Mom,
My stepdad is right there.
Dad.
My grandma is right there. My other grandma is over there in the red hair. My stepmom is right there. My dad is right there. Principal Holbert and Miss Neal and Dr. Cheers are like family to me because they encouraged me to get this award and to excel academically and in leadership skills.
Congratulations.
For the High School Youth of the Year Award, the Teen Coalition would like to congratulate Paul Marcelin from El Cajon Valley High School for being this year Youth of the Year Award recipient. I'd like to welcome Paul and Brianna up to the podium to receive the award.
Hello, my name's Brianna, and it is my great honor and pleasure to be honoring Paul Marcelin here today. Not only is Paul an exceptional human being and student, he's a triathlete. He has high academics. He's involved in all sorts of clubs from Hispanos Unidos to the Latin Dance Club. Those aren't the things that make Paul unique. Paul is known on campus by everyone. He's everyone's friends, from staff to every student. He speaks 3 different languages, and he reaches out across all of the community and all of the campus. We have many different cultures represented on our campus, and Paul is in charge of our culture and diversity, and he does so many amazing events, and he has planned different Ramadan events, Hispanic heritage events, and he makes students be seen and heard on our campus. He puts in so much time and energy, and he has the biggest smile and the biggest heart, making him such a leader, and we love that he represents El Cajon Valley High School and what it means to be a Brave.
Would you like to say anything? Or introduce us to anybody?
I would like to introduce this is my family. Since freshman year, I know Maricela, Lisbeth, Miss Hearns. I'm bad with names. My amazing teacher, Miss. Oh my God, I'm bad. I'm so nervous right now.
Don't be. You're doing great.
Yeah, these people have been with me since freshman year until right now, and probably senior year. And there's a lot of stuff I can say, but we don't have that much time. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for having us. This concludes the Youth of the Year Award presentation.
Thank you all for coming. All right, that brings us to agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council members? We're now at consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any of the consent items? Staff?
No, sir.
Make a motion then to approve the consent items?
And
Oh.
for the record, sir, we have
No.
no speaker cards,
Thank you, Angela.
and motion carries by unanimous vote.
Okay, great, thank you. Do I see folks from the Miss El Cajon pageant here? Am I missing this? Are you on the agenda, or do you just come because you wanted to see our council member meeting? Can you come up and say hi?
Hello, I'm Katie Rayno. I was here at the beginning of the year, but I'm your Miss El Cajon.
Hi, I'm Jill Viscoletti. I'm your current teen Miss El Cajon.
And we aren't on the agenda, but we did fill out speaker cards to come and talk to you guys today.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, it's a good segue. I have to read this little statement. Don't go away.
Okay.
All right, we're now at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any speaker cards?
Sir, we have 5 speaker cards, and first ones will be Ms. Reno and Ms. Viscoletti.
Okay, now you're official. You're
Okay. Hello. So today we're here to ask for $2,500 to help fund the 22nd annual Miss El Cajon pageant. We are going to use this money towards scholarships for the youth, and we would appreciate your support as we continue to serve the community of El Cajon.
Now, we are a nonprofit organization, so we do put on the pageant completely ourselves, from scholarships and even different events we do throughout the community. So your funding would really help support the girls of El Cajon. So, yeah.
When is your pageant?
It'll be Friday, June 20th.
Let me see if there's any questions for you. No? Well, thank you for coming. If our city manager will get back to them and talk to them about that.
Actually, the early bird gets the worm. They are the early birds. This is actually on next meeting's agenda already. The staff report's been prepared. It's something that you've done in the past, so this will be at your next meeting.
Can you come back at the next meeting?
I might be there.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, good. Well, we look forward to this. I think it's a good cause. Always has been.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ladies.
Our next speaker is Justin Heffernan.
Well, welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm just going to read a pre-written statement to make it easier on everybody.
That's fine.
My name is Justin Heffernan, and I live on the 800 block of Graves Avenue, south of Broadway. I've lived at this current address since 2016. Since I moved in, there's been an issue with cars speeding upwards of 60 miles per hour going south on Graves down to Lloyd Street down by the Wash. Graves is a major detour to locals as they can skip 2 stoplights when they're looking to travel south onto Ballantyne. The distance between the intersection of Broadway and Graves is approximately a quarter mile down the Lloyd Street. From the day I moved in to yesterday, I've witnessed 3 accidents where speeding cars have hit parked cars on the west side of Graves across from my street. Back in late 2024, when the city was repairing the Ballantyne sewer line, Graves was shut down to through traffic, and a temporary stop sign was placed when going north and southbound on the intersection of Graves and Cedar. Overnight, the speeding cars stopped. This vastly improved the safety of the street for both parked cars, pedestrians, homeowners, and anyone trying to pull out of their driveways, and of course the dreaded right-hand blind turn on the Graves from Cedar due to the parked cars. I took the initiative to place a request to get on the Get It Done app to have a stop sign placed going north and southbound on Graves at Cedar. My work order was submitted November 26, 2024. On December 4th, 2024, I received an email with what I consider, don't take this offensively, the most bureaucratic response in both the email and outcome of the request. I was told the traffic study had been conducted and adding the 2 stop signs is unwarranted. Instead, the city would waste tax dollars putting up 2 25-mile-an-hour speed limit signs. In my opinion, if someone is driving 60 miles an hour down a residential street, they treat a speed limit sign as a joke. A stop sign, however, is much harder to ignore. Also, the idea that any government agency would be able to do this traffic survey in 9 days is kind of comical, in my opinion. The reason I decided to come here today was simple. I was brushing my teeth this morning, getting ready for work, and I heard what could be considered an explosion outside. I went out to take a look, and a car had been traveling south on Graves and hit a parked van so hard it pushed it approximately 10 feet and up onto the curb. Ironically, the newly elected speed limit sign was knocked down. I ask you, the elected leaders, to not waste our tax dollars on a replacement speed limit sign, but instead install the stop signs on Cedar and Graves, which are desperately needed. And I brought some pictures of the accident from this morning. Can I approach?
Yeah, you may.
And then here's the initial response to the work order to get it done.
Graham, any thoughts on this?
A couple thoughts. One, it's not comical that the data was obtained so easily. We have access to this data pretty quickly. One of the challenges is that putting in a stop sign where it's not warranted, that meets certain criteria, puts the city in some liability. And I certainly recognize the concern that the residents have. I admittedly use Grave Street as a way to get through that part of town as well. I never speed. But I recognize that it is a challenge for those in that neighborhood. We can relook at that. We'll run some another analysis, especially given the latest crash, and see if that changed the warrant. But we wouldn't. Staff would not recommend putting stop signs just because it feels right. There needs to be some justifiable reason.
Let me see if there's any council members who want to make a statement or ask questions of you. Everybody does. We'll start with Michelle and work our way down.
Thank you for coming. As I tell people all the time, if you have a problem and it's not being resolved, come to City Council, look us in the eye, and say, this is what I need. It's a little harder for us to say no when we're looking at you. I personally go through that area from time to time, but I look for the homeless encampments that are over in that area and see what the status is and what's going on. I think that stop signs are a deterrent. You had already shown in your anecdotal evidence that putting the stop sign up when we were doing the remodel or the work on the street, that it slowed it down. I had the same problem on Mollison, and I get the same answers, so I feel your pain. I personally would ask for stop signs to be put there. That's just my opinion, and we'll have to see what the rest of the council can do and what we can do about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Justin, hey, thank you for bringing this to our attention. The city's too big for everybody to see everything that's going on, for us to see everything going on. So you're our eyes and ears out in the public. We've had a handful of similar issues in my district. And because of how the city manager, his explanation, there has to be justification per California Vehicle Code, or Caltrans, I think is what guides it, to have a certain amount of accidents or tickets or certain things in order to warrant it. If we put it in a stop sign that's unwarranted, then the city's open to liability. So there has to be a certain amount of ticks. And so I know it doesn't make sense to residents, but it's why it's so important whenever there's an accident or something like that, document it, file a police report. It's time consuming, but all of those add up. So when we do go to look at the warrants and the traffic studies, it'll show all those different incidences, which will be proof. If it's not called in and we don't have documentation of it, then it doesn't count towards those incidences. So it's vitally important. Tell your neighbors, spread the word. Stop signs are, some people pay attention to stop signs, some people don't. But I completely share your concern. Speeding in the city has gotten out of control, and it's not something that we ignore by any means. The best way to address it is through an engineering method, some way to slow traffic down. So I know our city staff, it's on their radar, and they're going to re-look at it to see if there's any other creative ways to slow traffic down. So we're not, I am by no means ignoring this, loud and clear. God forbid it's a child or, elderly person walking on the side of the road. It hopped the curb. You know what I mean? So this has our full attention, 100%. Thank you.
Thanks for coming and letting us know. My question for city staff is, what's the expense of a speed survey, number one?
It's not very expensive. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it's minuscule, under $1,000.
Under $1,000. Okay. So we cannot take any action today because this is public comment.
Yes.
But I would like to see some information on this street from about speeding. I bet my colleagues would too, but that's not something we can vote on.
That's fine.
That would be helpful. I think engineering is also an answer. There's a difference between speed bumps, speed humps, stop signs, flashing stop signs, those kind of things. I'd like also the city staff to let you know what's the criteria for a stop sign. There has to be so many accidents within a certain amount of time. There has to be speeds of a certain kind of thing. There has to be a sight distance for these kind of things. I'd like them to tell you what the criteria is so you're fully informed with all the information. And like Councilman Ortiz says, the more of your neighbors that you get to join you, one is enough to take action, but more is helpful as well.
What my plans are is if this doesn't get resolved properly, I'm just going to personally go house to house, my whole neighborhood, and I'll get a petition signed. I don't want to do it because, one, it's just bothering people and it's wasting everyone's time, but it needs to be done. The accidents aren't exactly at the intersection. They're about 150 feet before the intersection, all the ones I personally witnessed. And those pictures you're looking at, those could easily be in that intersection from someone trying to turn left going south on the Graves. And if they're hit at 60 miles an hour broadsided, they're going to get killed.
So we need to find out the speed survey.
Yes.
What's the average speed? Are these an outlier? An outlier even is a dangerous outlier. So how do we address the outliers with that, with engineering, with different kinds of things, what? And that's a discussion that they can have with you, because somebody's going to blow through a stop sign if they're going to drive 60 miles an hour, especially if they don't see any obstacle ahead. So they'll get with you on the different options for engineering: speed humps, speed bumps, stop signs, average speed, those kind of things. By no means is it a bother to your neighbors. We had a neighborhood, like about 40 neighbors signed a petition saying don't close a alleyway between two streets. That was very impactful to see 40 signatures from people. So by no way would I say to you that is a bother to you or to them. That is very impactful.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in and let us know there's a problem. And the staff, I assure you, will be very diligent in looking at the situation, and they're pretty good at what they do. So I'll be curious to see this when it comes back with a report. So again, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay, do you have any more questions, or?
That's it. I'm just going to go home and I'll put in a request to have the speed limit sign put back up for now, at least, because they kind of pushed it back up.
Make sure you leave all your contact information with us. Somebody will get back to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And do me a favor, and once this was resolved or not resolved, or come back to the city council and tell us what you've seen happen.
Yes, I will make sure I do that. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Next speaker is Carlos Gomez Perez.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
There you go. Hello, good afternoon. Once again, hopefully everybody had a, you could say, pleasant Memorial Day. If you actually understand what that means yesterday. I'm here to touch base on something that's been constant for the last several months. And from my point of view, we talked about this before, Wells, regarding that your job is to ensure the safety and security of everyone, of your constituents. And last week, there happened to be another, we could say another kidnapping attempt by ICE over in Ansett Street, over an elderly couple. And I know you have no power to call anyone to conduct those type of events. But I was wondering, if someone lives in your city, at the end of the day, it is kind of your right to ensure their safety. So I was wondering, even though SB 54 passed, and there's only so much you can do as a person, what can we tell the people in the community here in El Cajon to feel safer regarding aspects that have to do with ICE coming in, especially if, well, it's a coincidence, but we all know there's no such thing as coincidences when ICE weren't unable to attend anyone, because luckily there were community members around the area that prevented them from being taken. This was a couple. There were two. It was an elderly couple that all they were going to do was go to the doctors, and they stopped that from happening by ensuring they were videotaping and basically telling them, you don't have rights. You don't get to do that. But minutes later, cops showed up. Cops showed up saying, well, we got a call, a distress call, because there was some suspicious activity. But then they were also accompanied by a drone unit as well. So I'm just trying to find out what can be put out to the community. And I'm not just talking about Hispanic community, because everybody knows now, if you're keeping up with the news, how even Afghanis are losing their visas. And some of those Afghanis were my translators when I was in combat. And now 20 years later, they have no more rights, even though they put their life on the line like I did 20 years ago. That's really my question here.
Well, I think the first thing that we all have to do is have clarity about what's really going on. Interestingly enough, I did hear about the ANZA incidents, and I spoke with my city manager about today. Graham, you want to discuss what we talked about?
Certainly. So there was an accusation by members of the community that there was an ICE raid, and City of El Cajon police were participating with that, including the use of a drone. ICE was not in our community that day. There was a call for a suspicious vehicle. It turns out that the vehicle had some connection with someone that was a registered sex offender in good standing, but it resulted in us going out and having a contact with that individual. As we did so, something happened where the community got into a fervor and people started filming and accusing El Cajon police of being ICE agents. So I'm not sure how we combat that unless we put on our vehicles El Cajon Police Department, not ICE. And that's the only solution at this point. But when rumors start in the community and it hits Facebook and people that weren't there are repeating those exact same things that they heard, that does not help the community, and that clearly does not help instill confidence and reduce fear in our community.
I agree with you 1,000%, especially when there's hearsay. I get that. But I wasn't talking about the cops at all. Like, literally, if they're showing up afterwards, and like I said, if there was a claim that there was someone there, perfect, go after the criminal. But what I was trying to say is that who were the ones trying to rip the door open of the elderly couple at the ANSA motorhomes?
So who are the ones that did what?
Trying to rip the door open from the elderly couple that was trying to be taken.
Are we sure that happened?
Yes. There's video evidence of that. So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying...
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd like to get that. You know what? I want to ask our chief of police to come up, because this has been a difficult situation.
Nevertheless, yes, you're right.
And one of the things I think is frustrating, I know you guys are frustrated, but one of the things I find frustrating is that a lot of the things that are supposedly happening never happened. And one of the things I want to ask our chief of police when he comes up is, have we had any situations where we have called ICE and had them come and take somebody, or our police officers have been deputized to help on our ICE raid? I don't know the answer, but I'm guessing that there's going to be none.
I don't want to have my words misconstrued. I wasn't saying that we were calling cops to be acting with ICE. I was not saying that.
I appreciate
okay.
that. It's not necessarily you. It's something that people are saying. So I think your question to me was, how can we make people feel safer?
That is my ultimate question. That was sorry to interrupt you real fast. Yes, that's my ultimate question. How can we make the whole community safer, to feel safe in that aspect? Because I understand what we're saying. We talked about this before, how we said that the cops in El Cajon City were not going to be collaborating with ICE, and definitely they were not going to be the ones going up there and apprehend anyone. I understand completely, and I'm thank you for doing that. But I was trying to say is like, as a city, how can we put it out there for people? You're saying there's things that are being hearsay or they're not happening, but most people want to say, well, it's happening in other states. I'm not talking about other states, just alone. And so what happened in downtown San Diego in the actual immigration courthouses. There, ICE agents would cover our faces inside the hallways taking people. And that's the same, not saying those were the same individuals, but it's the same category of people that were here in El Cajon City last Tuesday. And that's the videos that's out there. That's what I'm trying to, how can we prevent that from?
Let me ask the police too, but the one thing, just to finish my thought, the one thing I think we can do to keep people feeling safe the most is to make sure that whatever information either side is giving is accurate information and based upon reality, not upon conjecture or like you said, hearsay. So, Chief, can you give us, first off, do you know anything about this ANZA situation?
I'm familiar with only our response to it, and the city manager already described exactly what happened from our response. So as far as the police department's role in the city, our job is to respond to crime and to prevent crime, regardless of who's involved in it. It's also absolutely not our job to prevent federal authorities from doing anything, whether that's ICE, the IRS, right, regardless, that they have their own authority to do their own thing. We don't get involved. We don't call ICE. We don't call the IRS. We respond to and we prevent crime in the city of El Cajon, regardless of who's involved.
Are we deputizing any of our officers to work as de facto ICE agents?
No, we absolutely are not. SB 54 prevents all of that. So it prevents our involvement in any capacity, except for the designated sections spelled out when they can be called. That's usually the sheriff that handles that.
All right. To your knowledge, have we had any, in the last 2 months, have we had any ICE raids in El Cajon?
Not to my knowledge. In fact, just like we partner with all of our federal partners, we meet regularly with ICE, DHS, FBI, DEA, and we meet once a month with the department heads. They've agreed to let us know once they have either come in or are going to be in El Cajon, so there's deconfliction. So we're aware that there's other law enforcement conducting business in the city, so we don't respond to a call inadvertently without realizing who's out there. I've gotten 0 notifications for probably 4 to 6 weeks that they've been out in our city.
Before I let you go, let me ask any of the council members that want to ask anything of the chief.
Thank you, Chief, for your explanation. Is it possible that there may be bad characters out there obtaining similar-looking uniforms and doing their own deal?
So it's possible, but then I would encourage and I would also inquire as to why the victims of those incidents aren't calling us, and we're only hearing it from a bystander's perspective. So
Okay.
It's certainly possible, but I would imagine if that's happening, we would be getting phone calls from the victims of those crimes.
I'm just asking because I have heard that you can buy stuff on Etsy, you can buy stuff on Amazon. I looked it up myself, and you can buy tactical gear on Amazon to appear as an, what do you call it, an unbadged or, somebody posing as an ICE agent without saying ICE on it. Anyway, I'm just asking. Thank you.
Chief, thanks for that explanation. And I think it's important to the speaker's point that the community knows what El Cajon police are doing and what they're not doing. And it's my understanding that, our police officers are not checking immigration status of our residents to the degree of when they get pulled over for speeding or or expired registration or anything like that. Am I correct in assuming that?
You're correct. We're absolutely not doing that.
Yeah. So our focus really is crime in that respect. And so to the speaker's point, I think it's important hearing it from the chief. What are we not doing? And if there's something else happening outside of what you're saying, then the public needs to let law enforcement know and let us know that, you know, this is our policy in the city. This is the chief's policy. If that's not happening, then please let us know so we can address it accordingly. Chain of command. So thanks for clarifying, Chief.
Absolutely.
To your question, what can you do to feel safe? I think the chief can give you a phone number of somebody in his department who you can call. And you can just say, is this true? I don't feel safe right now. Is this event happening? Is it true? Yes or no? And if he says, we have nothing to do with it, you should feel safe based on what he's doing. Anyone, if anyone in the city feels unsafe, they should call the police and say, is this a reason to be unsafe in the city? Absolutely. The police will know there's a SWAT activity going on in that street. We ask you to avoid that street right now. That street is not safe to walk through or drive through. On the other hand, they say, we have no knowledge of any activity going on in El Cajon. There's no reason that we know of why you shouldn't feel safe. It's the communication that's the key. When people just start getting on the internet, become anonymous keyboard warriors, they do such a disservice to this community. And sometimes it's people outside our city doing this to us. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the people who live here that they do that. So the best thing you can do is communicate. And probably the police, who's in charge of our safety, would be the best people to say, is it true? I'm sure he would give you the contact information of somebody in his department who could be that source for you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, my understanding is we don't even have access to the ICE database, right?
We don't access an ICE database, no.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Okay, sir, thanks for bringing it up, because I think it's important that we all kind of clear the air and see what's really happening. So
yeah, that's the reason why I asked. And that was my only idea, to find out, okay, what can we tell the communities so they can feel safe. So that was my ultimate goal for this point.
And if you know of anybody else that needs clarification, you know, please have them reach out to our office or me personally. I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody to, like I said, clarify exactly what we're doing. And if there's something else happening in the field, let us know. You have an open line of communication with us and our city staff to quell some of those fears. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Last speaker is Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Brenda.
Keep smiling. I have a more fun gripe. So when we started doing summer concerts in the county, it was Lemon Grove on Thursdays. Wednesdays was Santee. Lemon Grove on Thursdays. El Cajon on Fridays, Grossmont Center on Saturdays. So I thought, oh, great, I can dance half the week. Now, we got El Cajon on Thursday, Lemon Grove on Thursday, and I don't have Santee's with me, but Santee on Thursday. And so here's the good news. Grossmont Center, which is half La Mesa and half El Cajon, right, is on Saturdays. So just so you know. Just curious why we're doing. Somebody told me it was because there was the crowds were too big, so they wanted to have the cities do it all on the same night so the crowds would be spread out. I mean, that's not fun for me. Anyway, so I don't know if you don't have to answer that.
No, I want to answer that. I was at the Elks Club yesterday, and that was probably the question I got asked a dozen times. And unfortunately, the answer is that we, as a city, don't have anything to do with the concerts. The downtown partnership puts on the concerts, and they made that decision. But I will pass it on to them that numerous people have complained. And
Thank you, Mayor Wells. I kind of already knew that, and I was just hoping they'd be listening, because I'm going to say this in every city.
yeah, no, I think it's
Because-
I think it's a legitimate complaint. What we should spread it out and let everybody enjoy all of them. So
Yeah, well, it may
I'm going
not
to
be
pass
a-
it on to the right person.
It
Phil?
may not be a big deal to a lot of people, but so now we have to pick out which band we want to listen to. Or we could fly. I don't know.
That's another problem.
Thanks, Brenda.
I'm just curious. I'm not mad about it. Because I
I
don't
know-
get
I know that,
angry.
yeah.
Right, Graham?
Brenda, we've heard the feedback from a lot of people about
Yeah.
changing it, and I think part of the discussion, and I could be wrong, but I think part of the reasoning was the restaurant owners had expressed that Thursdays are slow, Fridays are always busy,
Yeah.
no matter what, whether there's concerts or not. So
Yeah.
the desire was, let's try and move the concerts to Thursday to uptick the restaurant activity, because a lot of the reason that we have the downtown business partnership is to grow downtown and keep people coming, and so
I realize that.
So
And I'm just having fun with you guys.
I know. You're great,
I'm pretty
Brenda.
intelligent. I could figure that stuff out.
we love you.
In fact, I was told I was too intelligent to be mayor. It's a true story. I'll
No,
tell you
that-
later. See you later. Thank you.
I'll take that under advisement. Thank you.
I'm just having fun with you. Thank you.
Nobody's ever said I was too intelligent to be mayor. So, well, okay.
I don't want to name drop, but it was somebody from La Mesa.
Oh, well, then we don't care. No, we have no written communications on today's agenda. We have no public hearings on today's agenda. We have 2 administrative reports on today's agenda. Item 10 is an update on the Business Beautification Grant Program. Marketing and Engagement Manager Chris Berg will tell us all about this. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Chris Berg, the Marketing and Engagement Manager for the City of El Cajon, and today I wanted to give you an update on what was a very exciting program in the last year, which was our Business Beautification Grant. In January of 2024, you all allocated $500,000 from ARPA funds to be used to beautify the facades of our local businesses, which included signs, paint, and window repair. In February, we launched the program. We began engaging businesses, had a website up for them to apply, and we had overwhelming response. In May, we came back. We had $1.7 million in requests, far more than the $500,000 that you had originally allocated. I believe it was Ryan Villegas that came to plead for more. And you all had doubled that amount and gave us a matrix of what to use in order to prioritize those businesses. And so we immediately began that process. Community development was very proactive and inundated with a lot of requests on sign grants to get all those approved. And it was something that we wanted to move very quickly on so that the businesses could get those up and running. And almost all were completed by December of last year. So it was something that went very quickly. For me, it was a great example of how City was able to engage with the business community here. We launched it with our dedicated website. We had it in the My El Cajon magazine. We did emails. One of the great partnerships was that we worked with the East County Chamber of Commerce. They did an e-blast out to all of their members. We held a workshop at their location where we brought out sign makers as well as all the businesses interested so that they could find out that this wasn't too good to be true, and we could walk them through the process. And leveraged our business license list as well to email all of those that are registered. So there was no business left unattended on this program and had some really, really great success. So with the numbers, just wanted to show you there were 60 individual businesses served with a total of 75 grants. And this is because some businesses would apply for multiple grants. They could do sign, paint, and windows. So there were some that had combinations. And so you could see we had the largest one was the sign grant program with over $700,000 allocated to that. Just a couple great before and after shots. I'm not going to show all 60 businesses, but some that just really made a difference that you can see where it really brings out some economic vitality on Main Street Donuts and Deli here. You can see she was able to do her rebrand, have a very nice lit sign, which really enhances. What was great is she had this done just before our holiday lights on Main, so it was nice to have that illuminated for an evening event. Cal Roof, a manufacturer out by the airport. El Cajon Blueprint, you can see the before sign was in need of a lot of repair, and this is where the city's done some major investment in other infrastructure, so it was nice to have this facade improved as well. Easy Corner Liquor, this one was in major need of repair. Lynn's Locksmith, this was a great example of multiple city departments working together to help this business. Not only did they do the sign and paint grant, but at the exact same time, Sergeant Gray, who was in charge of the SEU unit at the time, went out there and worked with them on how to do other proactive measures against encampments in their parking lot, people loitering in the parking lot. So they really appreciated, it wasn't just a facade improvement, but it really helped their business overall, having multiple touch points in the city working with them. Tyne Coffee, a great one out by the airport as well. This is a really fun coffee shop that we actually featured in our magazine last year. It was in one of the top 5 breakfast spots in El Cajon. Rob's Brew Point, again on Main Street. Mama Pots, a really fun importer of plant pottery in El Cajon and a major business. She's gotten a lot of really fun media. She's been a really great storyteller for El Cajon and growing her business here. So it was great to see them have this uptick in their facade. Babylon Palace, as you're coming in on Magnolia into downtown El Cajon, great to have this be a big improvement and a welcoming. Coastal Signs Plus, if the phrase "the cobbler's children have no shoes," this was kind of the same thing, a sign maker that didn't have a big sign. So they were also one that did a lot of the signs that we have in El Cajon here. And we've got the Art Gallery, East County Art Gallery and Surge Coffee. And then the last one I've got here is Por Favor. Both Por Favor and Downtown Cafe both got upgrades. So with that, on behalf of the businesses, I want to thank you for that investment because it really has made some dramatic improvements on a lot of the facades and the economic development for El Cajon.
Thanks, Chris. Let me see if there's any questions for you.
I just wanted to thank you for making really good decision, you and the staff. I drive around El Cajon a lot, and I noticed a Lynn's Locksmith the other day, and that looks really good. The building looks so much nicer, and I can tell when I drive down Main Street especially that I look at some of these buildings and I go, wow, that looks like starting to look like a new building. You know, and it adds a lot. So it's really a big bang for the buck. And that's some money that was well spent. So I think the city made a good decision in going with that. And thank you for what you did.
Agreed. Thank you.
I think your communication plan was excellent. You did it through the U.S. mail. You did it through a website. You did it through social media. You covered many different ways that people might find you, because not everybody is on Instagram, or not everybody looks at all their 350 emails every day or something. Even the U.S. mail, that was a great choice. So it was executed very well. This adds value not only to the community through better signage, better looking signage, it actually increases the value of the investment of the owners. When I know from my career, when retail stores invest in new flooring, in new paint, new fixtures, things like that, it increases the value of their business so that when they go to choose to sell it someday, they will get more for their business had they not done those things. So thank you to those businesses that said, I'm in, and great management by the city on this program.
And to your point on that, we've also noticed a lot of the businesses that took advantage of the grant were next door to businesses that didn't, and they immediately went and upgraded theirs because it was just that we're in this strip and our neighbors are looking better. So it definitely had a long-term effect there as well.
Yeah, Chris, great work. And to build off of your point, not only is it going to have the neighbors in the area elevate and invest, that was the whole psychology behind this idea is let's elevate what all of El Cajon looks like. But I akin it to, you know, when my wife says we need new faucets in the bathroom, and then we got this nice new faucet, and then the mirror looks bad, and the towel rack looks bad, and this and that. And so it's going to provoke the business owners when this looks good, all of a sudden, oh, you know what? We should think about repainting it because we have this nice new sign. And you know what? Those umbrellas are looking a little old. I'm going to start looking for it on. So it's continually doing that stuff for the public to know that we give them, the business owners, a little bit of help, and they'll take it as far as they can. So.
Chris, thank you for your presentation. You always do a great job, and I appreciate the examples. I have noticed driving around the town that El Cajon is starting to pick up as far as looking better. Yes, we still have some areas, but I noticed that there are certain streets that are starting to look cleaner, more together, if you will. You know, it's like when you wear an outfit and you're wearing the wrong jacket. It's kind of the same thing. You know, the benches along Main Street, the landscaping, that's all part of it. And I know that you were not part of that per se, but it's that. It's the new benches, it's the new signs, it's new painting, and it's just kind of bringing and elevating El Cajon a little bit more. I've been here a really long time, and so it's nice to see that our city is looking better. Now, if we can just keep that momentum and keep it going, I think that we'll eventually accomplish what we have in mind. So thank you for your work on this. I know that you are very instrumental on this. You know I'm a big fan of yours, and I appreciate all the work that you put into it and the cooperation that you have with our business community. That's important too, because they trust you and they know that you're going to do what you said you're going to do and get it done for them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Couple quick questions. Is the program completed?
There are 2 outstanding grants still that are just waiting on the permitting side, but they have, and I have not looked into seeing where that is. They may be done.
Pretty close, though.
But I know that there's just 2 outstanding. But yeah, everything else has been paid, and I would say our finance team too, as well, was very quick at the reimbursements. That was something that the businesses, you know, you're operating a small business. This is a huge piece of cash to put out, and I believe, Ryan, nobody was more than 2 weeks out by the time they turned in their paperwork that we were able to do reimbursements. So it was a very quick turn.
Will we be at a zero balance when this is over with no money left in the account?
Correct.
Any negative?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. I appreciate that. Thanks. Angela, do we have any speaker cards for this item?
Yes, we do. We have 4. The first one is from Linda Baltodano.
Hello, Linda. Welcome. Pull the microphone down a little bit. Thanks.
Yes, my name is Linda Baltodano, and I am the president of the East County Art Association. And good evening, members of the City Council. I'm here to express my sincere gratitude for your incredible support on all the small businesses here in El Cajon. The funding to allocate towards the economic development of local businesses has made a significant impact for all of us, especially for our gallery. We were with banners for so many years, and we really needed that help, especially for the grants and things that are happening around our world. You know, the arts has been really hurting so much, but this has really helped the efforts. It's been able to elevate our professional presence, had expand our research, and gain greater exposure within the community. Your efforts on helping small businesses has been tremendously, especially in the arts. And on behalf of myself and many small businesses owners who have directly benefit from all your commitments, and we thank you so much from the bottom of our heart to help the arts and the creativity here in downtown El Cajon. It helps us so much tremendously because we are on Main Street. Our gallery has been there since and we opened in January of 2020, so we've been through a lot. And all your support had helped us, and come on down and help in just the painting. We have a mural, and we have a beautiful sign, and we are so proud to be here in downtown El Cajon. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Molly Crumweedy.
Afternoon. I'm Molly Crumweedy. I'm the owner of Camp Runamut over on Pioneer, and we were one of the very grateful recipients of a sign. At the time this program started, we were also in the process of moving our business, so we really didn't have a budget for signage, weren't sure what we were going to do, and when this opportunity presented itself, it really did sound too good to be true, and it was beyond our expectations. We have a beautiful sign that represents our business and the pride that we have in our business. It lights up, which is extraordinary because there are a lot of driveways, a lot of businesses on Pioneer, and our customers can see which driveway to go into to get to where we're located. So we are just extremely grateful. It's something we could not have afforded, and we're very grateful to have had the opportunity. I hope that this can happen again for more businesses can continue to support us. I also wanted to say Chris is amazing to work with. The whole program was very quick, very efficient. It was very clean, and that we also feel very supported by everyone else at the city. Every department that we've had to work with has always made us feel very appreciated. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad it worked out.
Well, I want to thank you personally for sponsoring the fire department open house. Thank you very much again. I want to thank you in person. That was a very successful event.
Next speaker is Mark Kren.
Hi, everybody on the council. Also up here to express my gratitude as a business owner. I benefited on both sides of this because I was one that didn't have my sign as a sign company, so I have a sign now, which is awesome. I'm right on Marshall, so it's pretty visible. Really helps us out. And then also a special thank you to Chris for getting me involved because he reached out through another mutual friend, kind of like looking for some guidance on the sign program and setting it up and all that, and had the pleasure of working with him, and he did a great job, I think. And then, yeah, just a little bit about me. I actually started my sign business 13 years ago in the townhomes in my garage across the street. So we've made it a long ways, and programs like this really help us out a lot. So thank you.
Great. Glad it worked out.
The last speaker is Brenda Hammond.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi. I think this is so great that you're doing this for the businesses. And then I love that the businesses are taking you up on it, because in other cities, I see business owners that don't want to. So, give somebody $20 and they'll go graffiti on, so they have to. I've seen it. And not in just one city, but a few. But this is awesome. I love this. And remember, when I run away, I always come to El Cajon for that reason.
Thanks, Brenda. Okay, council, it's back to you. We're open for discussion, or if somebody would like to make a motion, we could do that.
I think we just received the report.
Just receive the report, yeah, that's it. You make, oh, Steve, did you have a comment? You want us to go ahead and make a motion? Okay, this is good. Did you make a motion?
Yeah, move to receive the report.
Okay, I'll second it. Thanks. Please vote. Yeah, sure.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Oh. Wait, don't sit down, guys. Come on up. So this is the El Cajon, this is the Granite Hills High School lacrosse team, and I'm going to let Steve Goebel tell us all about this.
So Coach Diaz is here somewhere. Hey, how are you doing? And then Mr. Gonzalez, I think, is here somewhere. There he is.
Oh.
Oh, Manny, how are you? Good.
Well, I guess
So here's what I heard about this lacrosse team. They were the number 5 seed in the Division I CAF championship. They beat the number 4 seed Del Norte in the quarterfinals. They beat the number 1 seed Carlsbad in the semifinals. And, well, they beat the number 2 seed St. Augustine in the finals. So you are Division I champions, correct? It's interesting to note, apparently you lost to all 3 of those teams during the regular season, but you kicked it up during the CIF playoffs. So we have before us a Division I CIF championship team in lacrosse. So congratulations. It's great to recognize you before your parents and before everybody here. So great job. Yeah, team captain or anybody want to say anything?
Is this the first time Granite Hills has ever won this championship?
Yeah, Division I championship. We won a Division II championship, but in the history of the program, we've never been to a Division I championship at all. So we're 1 of 1.
Wow, well done.
And how many seniors are graduating? 10. Okay, so the juniors got a legacy to build on here.
Anybody go on to play college lacrosse?
Well, congratulations to the parents for raising great kids. That it's all about teamwork. Life is about teamwork, and they've learned to be champions in doing that. So congratulations.
Well done. Anybody else?
Back in the day, I played lacrosse at Santana, and your guys' program started, you guys whooped up on us pretty bad. We were scared to play you guys, but we started the program in 2002, and we didn't know what we were doing, and neither did our coach, and we just kind of went out there and started playing. So even though I'm a Sultan, I got a ton of pride that you guys are holding it down for El Cajon. So well done, guys.
Question, Gary?
Oh, now, so when is lacrosse season? Okay, so it's over now. And what field do you guys play on? Your home field, where?
The Granite Hills Valley Stadium, so up on Madison.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Check out the game.
I will.
Anybody else? Thank you so much for coming, everybody. And congratulations.
So while they're leaving, I actually owe Mr. Goebel breakfast, because when he told me that we were going to bring them, I said, there's no way any high school students are going to show up at a city council meeting, and if they do, I'll owe you breakfast. So apparently, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
I'm really hungry, and I'm going to take advantage of this. I am ordering combos 3, 4, 10, 12, and 14.
Well, that's wonderful. I think they won. Granite Hills won the football championship last year, right?
And they're in the championship for D1 baseball right now, so they're advancing there. So, yeah.
Oh.
Right, they're open division baseball.
Okay. Let's for the last. Oh, yeah, we're on the last administrative report. Item 11 is an update on the City Council action plan. I'll ask our city manager to tell us all about this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The purpose of this agenda item is, one, to give the City Council kind of a quarterly update on where we are with the City Council action plan, but really to focus on a couple areas that staff has some questions. So the staff report includes a pretty in-depth breakdown of each of the 6 priorities, along with several of the different initiatives associated with those priorities. And I can, at some later point, I can answer any questions about those. But I really wanted to focus on these 5 goals or tasks. These are ones that we've made some progress on and hit a point where we think we need either some additional city council feedback, or maybe there's some issues that we can discuss in a little bit more detail. So with that, as a reminder, the city council identified 6 priorities. And for each of those priorities, there are different levels of initiatives, 5 initiatives for the beautification goal or priority, 2 for the infrastructure, 5 related to economic development, 4 for homelessness, 6 for public safety, and 5 for miscellaneous. And staff has estimated, based on all those different initiatives and where we are with those, this is sort of the percentage of completion on each of these in whole. There are some initiatives that have 0 work. There's been 0 progress made. Others are further along. So when you average it all out, it comes out to this number here. Before I dive into those 5 kind of areas of focus, does the council have any other questions, or do you want to save that to the end? I'll let the council decide on that. Keep going?
Yeah, please keep going.
Okay. So the first one is the volunteer program. As you recall, the idea is that we have typically seniors with needs, and we have groups out there that want to do volunteering. As we've started exploring this and talking about what that looks like from theory to actual practice and implementation, there's sort of 3 challenges. One is the challenge of vetting. We're concerned that there could be a volunteer group that isn't capable, isn't skilled, has challenges, has a registered sex offender. I mean, these are the things that go through our head. The other is vetting the needs. We may have somebody that drives 4 really nice vehicles and owns a $1 million home, but says they need some help with landscaping. And maybe they are in need. We don't know that, but it puts staff in a position of not only vetting, but then having some liability for that vetting as well, which gives us some raw reason for some concern. The other is that in order to do the program to the way we believe that council described it during the goal setting session, we probably need a staff coordinator to work on that. It's not a full-time job, but it's at least a half-time job, especially if we're vetting volunteer groups, we're going out there and looking at the needs and identifying whether that is a need or not, and then doing the matching between the different organizations and different residents. That does involve some staffing, and we're in a budget position where looking at reducing positions, not adding positions at this time. And at the end of the day, whenever the city is involved with even matchmaking, we do have some exposure. Whether we have real liability, that's one thing, but we certainly have exposure. So those are sort of the 3 challenges or concerns. We thought there's maybe 2 options the council could give some direction on. The first option would be just to defer this to another year in the future. But the other would be we could manage a resource page where if there is a volunteer group that would like to register as being on this page, we can put your volunteer group contact information on it. There'd be very little vetting, and because of that, there'd be a lot of language that the city attorney would draft that would give us a lot of we're not attesting to these people. We can't certify whether these people are good or not. They may steal from you. We don't know. I mean, these are the kind of things that we would say in a more legalistic way. And then as individuals have needs, we can point them to that website, or we could point them to a resource page where people can actually go, and then they make contact with those organizations by themselves. So we're not doing the matchmaking. So those are sort of the 2 options that we thought of. Again, we can talk about these midterm, or we can come back and talk about them at the end. Again, council, what would you prefer?
Yeah, let's just keep going.
Okay. All right. The next is the homeless video program. Couple things. One is, as you remember, we produced a video several years ago where we went around with our homeless outreach team, and we gave residents a chance to really see behind the scenes of what it takes to get someone from off the street into some shelter, and the challenge with that. One of the concepts that the council talked about was, well, let's build on that and let's talk about successes and focus on the successes that are occurring in the city of El Cajon, not so much the things that are not going well. A couple things. One, we are a little concerned about the timing of the point-in-time count. And I know this is a long-term goal. The point-in-time count just came out. Given news cycles, people's memories will fade. But I think a lot of people are concerned with not the success, but really more, what are you doing, number one. The other concern that we had is we met with all of the consulting or organizations that do homeless services in the city of El Cajon. We met with them. They expressed very little interest in continuing to participate, in part because I think, again, in theory it sounds good, but in order to follow someone around and watch their experience from on the street to success, you almost have to follow around 100 people to get 3 or 4 successes. And that's a pretty expensive endeavor. And so none of our partners have the confidence to say, hey, we're working with this family X, start filming them now, because there's no guarantee that by the time we're ready to wrap up, they will be in housing or they may be somewhere else. We don't know. And so there's some reluctance to get our service providers involved with that. And 2, it's pretty costly to do this project. So a couple options, back to options. One is we could refocus the theme and really, if there's a different focus that you want to work on, we could do that. Or 2, we could re-promote or repackage the existing video that we already have that kind of gets behind the scenes and explains some of the things that we are doing and the difficulty of what it takes to get that done. And that could involve some additional footage just to sort of tee that up and explain that in some context. But those are 2 of the options related to the homeless program video. Moving on, there is an interest to explore or analyze what it would cost to increase the quality of life team coverage. And remember, this is the team that goes out, does our homeless outreach. It does helping people get off the streets. It focuses on enforcement and cleaning up encampments. And one of the concerns is that we have a regular set schedule of when we do these. We typically don't do them on weekends. We clearly don't do them on holidays, given our current staffing levels. And so the idea was, well, what can we expand that? And so we said, okay, if we were to double the team we have right now, that would involve hiring a sergeant, 6 officers, 4 public works employees, and 1 Parks and Rec employee. That ends up being 12 staff members. That's a $1.5 million ticket in order to do that. The other option is that we just pay overtime with our existing staff and do random holidays, weekends, change the days up periodically, do sort of what we did before. We do an extended period of time or sort of all hands on deck, a blitz of the city, and focus on that. And that overtime would be a lot less expensive, but it's about, just so you know, it's extremely time intensive to do a 10-hour event. It's about $20,000 in overtime to do additional events. So if you were to do 2 events per month, so 24 events, that almost equals $500,000 in order to do 24 additional events in the year. So those are kind of the 2 different options. Let me just touch base on the point in time count really fast since we're here, as it comes to another recommendation that we have. As you know, Council, I sent you an email with some of the concerns that I shared with the Regional Task Force on Homelessness about the count. This shows a map that shows our city boundaries. I'm going to blow up or zoom in on an area so you can see it better. But this shows our city boundaries and also the different census tracts. I think there's a lot of folks, including the Regional Task Force on Homelessness, that assumed that census tracts coincide with city boundaries, but that's not the case. We could tell by pulling up this map that there's at least 2 census tracts that are completely outside of the city limits. You can see that 165.03 is completely outside, and then one that was in Rancho San Diego that's really far outside the city limits was counted in our ultimate count. We also can see that there are other areas along the northern boundary of the city where there are large sections of that that census tract that are outside of the city limits. Looking at like 165.02, that includes Greenfield, but also includes Broadway. So we're assuming there's probably some encampments found or homeless individuals counted on Broadway, Greenfield, on North 1st Street. And so we assume that some of those aren't ours. So what I'm getting to, let me get to this as well. Ms. Diaz, another IT employee, Mr. Kemp, and I participated in the count, and we actually counted the area that I've highlighted with the 73 question mark. I know in my count, we did not encounter 73 homeless individuals between I-8 and Madison Avenue, and that small stretch of space. We know there's a lot of homeless individuals in that area, but 73 in one morning, we kind of doubt that number. The Regional Task Force on Homelessness said that they will allow staff to dig into the numbers, will allow us to look at who reported at what time and at location. So we will dig into that more. But at the end of the day, we think that the argument that we would make is our count is probably closer to 243, not 344, as they've reported. We'll continue to work with them, and hopefully we'll see some adjustments. I think it would be hard for them to not adjust at least the ones that are completely outside the city limits. So we hope to see some movement there, and they've been very cooperative with staff thus far. The reason I bring this up is I question, the validity of the point-in-time count. There's so many factors that go into that can change that number any given time. The weather changes that number. The number of volunteers that show up that morning changes the number. The types of volunteers that show up that morning change that number. And so, and frankly, the questions that are asked do very little to help inform city policymakers or policy recommenders, and then policymakers know which programs are working and which are not working. It gives us no indication of where homeless individuals came from before they became homeless here. It gives us no indication of how they got here, who brought them here, were they at ECTLC for a couple of days or not, right? These are the things that would help staff make better recommendations to the city council, but the questions that are posed give you zero insight into better policies. So with that, staff would actually recommend, and we're looking for some feedback, that we conduct our own point-in-time count on a quarterly basis. We can shift that a little bit. So if it happens to be raining on the point-in-time count conducted by the Regional Task Force, the point-in-time count happens rain or shine. We would probably delay that by a week and let things settle so we're measuring more apples to apples rather than apples, oranges, and bananas. And so we could also ask the questions that we want to ask, and we can ensure that there's some quality control over who is conducting the survey. And we would rely on city staff to do that. I know some would probably say, well, you have a vested interest to keep the count low. We actually have a vested interest in get the count right, number one, and two, to ask the right questions to help us know what policies to recommend to the city council. The second is we think that there is some need to increase the quality of life team. We would not recommend using the hiring of new staff, but really using overtime to fill that depending on where we're at with the budget. We would also recommend that we reevaluate the overall effectiveness of all of our service providers. It has been a while since we've done full requests for proposals on all of our providers, and I think we're at a point where it's time to reset the table and look at that. I think we have been giving CDBG money to some of the same groups year after year because they're doing maybe an okay job, but I think maybe it's time to reevaluate some of those funding priorities. And then the other option to consider, and I'm not recommending this at this time, but you could consider just a lot of money for a one-year push and just see what can get done in a one-year period of time. We're probably talking $1 million to $1.5 million in funding from the general reserves just full court press. So those are a couple options to consider in moving forward. So the last one is the Citizens Academy. That was a miscellaneous goal Oh, I missed a couple, sorry. The next is Prop 36. The City Council action plan says that we will present a final report kind of at the end of the year after we've been in for a full year. But I'm happy to report some progress this year alone, 113 arrests with bookings. These are folks that we were perhaps arresting but with a citation, but we're actually booking individuals now. 99 of those are drug related, 10 are theft related, typically shoplifting, and 4 were a combination of those. About 70% of those that were arrested under this Prop 36 are related to transient population, so that's the connection. And we think that we will see a reduction in our homeless population as people just get arrested for violating the law. So there is some great resources from the Sheriff's Department that actually shows every city in Prop 36 arrests and bookings. So encourage you to look at that. But in the meantime, we will continue to track this and see what kind of impact the passage of Prop 36 has on not only crime in our city, but also on our homeless population. The last under miscellaneous was the concept of creating a citizens academy, kind of to mirror what the Citizens Police Academy does. Give our residents a broader exposure to what the cities do. Again, given budget constraints, staff would recommend that we suspend this project at least for a year or longer, depending on where we're at budget-wise. So with that, staff's here to answer any questions that you have about any of the council action plans. I'm going to call staff up to answer those questions if I don't have the answer. Also take any of your comments and then feedback specifically on those 5 areas that we were looking for. So with that, I'll turn the time over to the council.
Thank you very much. Before we ask questions, let me see if there's any speaker cards on this item.
No speaker cards, sir.
Okay. Who would like to start?
Apologize. We just received one from Brenda Hammond.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Brenda, come on.
Hi. I can tell you right now that count is off, and I can tell you why. The county wants to up these numbers no matter what city it's in so that they can have the money grab for the county, not for each city. And I know that from my own experience. Thank you.
Is it? Okay. Council's open for discussion. We'll start with Gary and move on.
Okay. Bill, do you want to start? Maybe we could, so we don't forget anything, start from the beginning and we could just make comments.
That's fine, yeah.
And
Did you want to go here? Or did you want to go down each of those 5 goals individually?
Well, why don't we do it this way, Grant? Let's start with the volunteer program. How does everybody feel about that? Michelle, go ahead.
I say defer it. That was my idea, and I have no problem. Let's see my notes here. I say defer. Defer it to another year. We need to get through this economic situation right now. And if it doesn't get done until maybe 2-3 years down the road or ever, that's fine. It was just an idea. I appreciate the work to look into it, but I have no problem in deferring it or eliminating it completely.
Anybody else?
I agree with Michelle on that. That's kind of the icing on the cake, and we just need the cake right now because of the budget.
The only thing I would say is that having a website that gives organizations that want to volunteer a place to put up their information, I don't see any economic hardship on that, is there?
That would be pretty easy to implement, actually.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
If there's organizations out there that we know of that would like to do that, maybe let's have that drive the project, as the organization reaches out to the city or to Michelle, and then they say, hey, we'll put you up if you're willing to volunteer.
Right. Just Serve is one organization that has lots of volunteers and are always looking for projects to do, and I'm sure that there are other civic organizations out there that would like to do that. So it's just a matter of getting the word out. Hey, if you have volunteers and you want to just put your info out there, we'll put it on a website for you and just promote your organization. But I don't think we need to go any further than that right now. I appreciate it, though.
Any other comments on that?
My comment on that one is if you do start promoting other organizations, you need to ask the question, do we have any liability? Because we don't get to vet the people that would go to somebody's house. What are the criteria for being listed? I'm just trying to protect the city in that sense.
The second one, promotion of homeless success stories, is that also linked to the idea of not making another video?
So, yeah, that's the option. So we can either redirect the focus of, or actually there's three options. One, move forward, right? Focus on success stories. Although I think the idea that the council expressed is kind of watching someone through the process of getting from off the street into a shelter and into a permanent house was the idea. I don't think that's feasible. But one, we could do a video just promoting our success that we've had. The other could be a completely different theme, or the third could be taking our existing video and really re-promoting that. I mean, Mr. Berg mentioned to me that even as of this weekend, there were views on our YouTube channel of that video with a new comment. So we know it's getting play right now. It would really be just promoting what that play is. And I think with the right messaging, I think it's still pretty timeless, I should say.
Go ahead, Michelle.
What I was going to say is, I like that idea of re-promoting the video. I think that it's great for us to say these are our successes, but until we get this point in time count numbers, get the real numbers and maybe come up with some better solutions, we don't really it'd be difficult for me, or to me would be somewhat disingenuous to say, look at how great we're doing, when our numbers initially right now is that we're 21% more. So I would like to say, okay, let's clean up our act and clean up the numbers and clean up what we got to do first. Still continue to promote the video, but as far as getting any success stories, we can't do that. We can't really do that because we still have a very big homeless problem. And whether our numbers went up 21% or they've stayed the same year after year, we still have quite a bit of work to do. So I'd like to promote the video, maybe reimagine it a little bit or add to it, but I don't think that we can tout success right now.
I like the idea of taking the whole of that content that we have, that video content, and repurposing it. Maybe splice it up in 30-second, a minute videos, pushing that out to our website, to social media. I think you can, with video, you can splice it here and there. I know it might take a little bit of editing, but we have the whole of the content. You can repurpose it in different ways, so I like that idea. I think it's always important to be displaying to the public what we're doing and how we're doing it. And, the numbers are what they are. Anybody that's been a part of the point in time count knows it's so randomized, it gets be off all the time. But I think it's important, even if the numbers are going up and down, we're staying consistent in what we're doing, in showing that we do have successes, and we are addressing this. This is the largest issue within the city, and showing that it's a volume of people experiencing homelessness, homeless people. It's a volume issue. It's a number of people that are on the streets. It's not the solutions that we have. The solutions that we have and the blueprint that we have for some of the population works. It's effective. But the sheer number of them is where we're having the issue. So it's important I think it's important to do that. And maybe, staff's idea of re-looking at all of the organizations we support. Maybe we have them do some kind of, through their proposal, what are your success stories? What are your numbers? You show us, give us some people that you have rehabilitated and brought into permanent housing. You have to show us their success stories and go from start to finish so you can tell the story, and then those can be used by everybody to show what they're doing, because we hear good stories, but we don't hear all of them, and so that might be an opportunity for those organizations to promote exactly what they do and how they do it, and then the people who they've helped giving that testimony. So all in all, I think not creating a new one, it's a lot of time and money, but maybe repurposing what we've already done. And even some of the, are we talking about the one with Chief Moulton? Is that the video we're talking about? Or are we talking about the other one?
The one that we were following around our SEU team, I can't remember if Chief Moulton was.
This was the one with Chief Moulton was in a living room.
Yeah, that was
Vince.
different. That was a different one. That was
maybe
Mr. DiMaggio.
Yeah,
and
maybe we
Chief.
split though. You know, we repurposed that one as well with some shorter videos that are more manageable for people to watch because we have such short attention spans now. Anyways,
I guess at this point with the budget, I'm a fan of finding grants and outsourcing stuff to try not to add more layers onto staff. I think the Regional Task Force on Homelessness could be a source of a grant. I think they owe us. We're the second largest city in the county with homelessness, and I'm not seeing a lot of grant money coming our way, to tell you the truth. I think they could tell the amicus story. 78% success rate. We know where those women and children are every night for months. We know where they came from. We know what they're doing. And in many cases, I hear where they went. So that's a great success story of somebody easy to find. I would hope that the Regional Task Force would provide funds for that and we could outsource that to a third party. The point in time count, here's the rub. When you have volunteers go out, inherently each group has its own incentive. Our incentive is to keep numbers low. A provider's incentive might be to show as high numbers as you can because you get more dollars for more people that you serve. Do we know when groups go out if they are all one kind of a group or all another, or are they mixed?
We do know that, and that's one of the values of that app is we can actually see, especially in that area, that high concentration. That's where I'm going to be looking at specifically is which volunteer was hitting the button over and over again, or was it the same volunteer doing that? And then you have to question that who was that volunteer, and do they have a vested interest to have a different number than reality?
Exactly. I don't expect the Regional Task Force to modify the numbers other than those that are absolutely outside the city, because otherwise they're going to have to start doing it for any other city that disputes it. But frankly, nobody else had an increase like we did, I don't think. So that's my challenge on the point in time count is who's doing it for what incentive. I'd consider using the success stories out at amicus rather than trying to chase down somebody who might be more mobile inside the city.
Okay. Well, regarding the point in time count, I think that's an opportunity for city employees who we have a certain amount of control over to give us accurate information. I think it's worth $1 million or so to do it on a quarterly basis, because if I can't measure it, I can't manage it.
Mr. Kendrick, just, it would not cost us $1 million to do the point in time count. We think that we can do that pretty inexpensive with our own existing staff. We can develop our own app, which is pretty inexpensive. The $1 million would be more of like if we were to bring on a lot of other service providers for cleanup, a lot of overtime, doing a lot of push, maybe even providing more programs than we currently do for like a 1 year period. So that would be the $1 million part, yeah.
So, and then we can ask the homeless people, like, how did you get here? Were you part of the county voucher program, and when their money ran out, you just went out onto the street? I mean, those are all, things we need to know, like what caused you to choose El Cajon? And so I think having quality information is the only way we're going to be able to address this issue appropriately.
Can I ask a show of hands to everybody who thinks doing our own point-in-time count at some interval, either 4 times a year or less, is a valuable thing we're spending money on? I think it is. Is anybody? Yeah.
I don't have enough information. Is the purpose to get better quality information or to get a better count? Because the public perception would be, well, of course you guys came up with 100 lower than the official count. That's you're going, of course, if we're trying to prove to the world we don't have as many that we do, it's not a great exercise.
Yeah,
if it's to get better information for law enforcement and public works and all the things that we do here, that's a good.
Well,
I think go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I would also add, once we get that information, what are we then going to do with that information? And is it material information that we actually can have action on in the future? Or is it just, we have this information, we know the system's rigged, and now we're right, but we can't do anything with it. So is the effort worth it?
Well, I think that having useful, meaningful information kind of will help us do what Steve suggested before, is going back to the regional task force and saying, you just recently gave Lemon Grove $10 million. You've never given El Cajon $1. Here's all the information that we have, not just from one point in time count, but 4. For example, you're telling us that maybe 20% of the people on the street have a drug addiction problem. But when we ask the people on the street a different question, like, did you use drugs in the last 24 hours? 95% said yes. So we think that, this is a problem that needs to be addressed. So I don't know all the benefits to having the right information, but I bet you we could get more mileage out of that than the cost of implementing it.
I'd love to see Regional Task Force give a grant for that as well. They owe us.
Well, maybe we could just do this. If people are not opposed to this, would you be willing to flesh that idea out some more, give us costs and the pros and cons of doing the program?
Certainly, we can do that. And the idea is not to refute the regional task force numbers because it's 2 different counts. Their count is very prescribed. It has to be a very certain way during a certain time of day. Once that time ends, there's no more counting except with these other group of people that does another count. We would have more control over the count, so we think we get better data. And we could ask, again, the right questions, not their questions that are given to them by HUD.
Something that I'd like to bring out, because I've done the point-in-time count now 3 years in a row, I think now. And the numbers, I mean, you pretty much know. If you were meeting 100 people, you would know if we had seen 100 people in one group, in one census tract. I think something else that we should consider as far as getting data is get the information from the Homeless Connect that was just recent. They have information. Where did these people come from? And the people that participated in this Homeless Connect, Pacific Health is willing to sponsor a Homeless Connect every quarter, which would be great. Because we can also, I would imagine, be able to use their data that they've collected from helping people when they register in to come in and get services from probation, from district attorney's office, whatever, that we might be able to use some of that data along with our own point-in-time count.
I think that's all a great idea. I want to caution against getting into the minutia about this. Graham's going to bring back a proposal. We could tear it apart at that point.
Right. I just want to throw it out there.
Are we talking about once a year?
Well, that's one of the things Graham initially was saying quarterly.
Quarterly. Okay.
But that's something the council would have to decide at that point. First off, I have no idea how much they're going to cost, so all these things are going to come into play. So, with the council's agreement, we'll ask Graham to come back and give us a proposal on that.
Agreed.
Great.
All right. The next one is the quality of life team coverage. I'd like to start with this. You know, I'm so cheap by nature. You know, when I heard about the idea of spending $1 million or maybe $1.5 million, I first recoiled at that idea. But my feeling is that of all the things people talk to me about, homelessness is the number one thing that people talk to me. It's the thing that upsets them the most. It's the thing that impacts their quality of life the most. I'd be willing to see what would happen if we spent the money to really make enforcement a top priority. And then, like Steve says, put some pressure on the regional task force to help us pay for that, if it's a positive thing. But I'll let you guys give your thoughts.
I like your idea. I think that's a good idea. My question is, we put the quality of life team out there, and we do what we can, but there's no bite. You know, and I know that there are laws that keep it, and I've always said it's not a crime to be poor, it's not a crime to be homeless, but at some point in time, we have to look at the safety and welfare of everybody in the city, the entire city. And you've said that yourself, Mr. Mayor, of how, you know, it's the safety of the public and the safety of the neighborhood, and I agree. And I think that we have done what we can. We do a lot more than other cities, and we're trying constantly to remedy a situation that is very difficult to remedy. And I've now kind of come to this point where it's like, if you don't want to go into rehab, then please leave the city, you know, or we get them into forced rehab. I know we can't do that, but they're waiting. We clean out, like say behind on Magnolia, behind the chiropractor's office, right as you're getting on 8 East at Magnolia, we're cleaning that out. They are waiting, and I've seen them, and I've walked back there. They're waiting on the corners with their stuff till things kind of calm down, and then they'll come right back in. Or they're putting up their tents in Caltrans property because they know it's going to be a while before Caltrans come in there. But those people that are living on Caltrans property are coming into the city and doing their crimes or doing whatever they're doing, stealing packages, and it's very difficult. And if we don't get cooperation with Caltrans, increasing our quality of life team, what is that going to do? And that's kind of my question is, like, we can spend the money on increasing services or whatever, but if it's going to come to nil because Caltrans or county is not doing their part in it, we're just playing whack-a-mole. And I hate saying that, and those that are service providers know that I've been a big advocate for homeless and trying to make sure that we treat them with dignity, but at some point in time, the community deserves that dignity as well. And I've come to this point where you just can't. And I would really like to see us do more cooperation or put more pressure between Regional Task Force on Homelessness, the county, and Caltrans and say, look, this is a regional program or a regional problem, and we need to attack it regionally and in cooperation with each other, and start coming down on people who just will not take any services whatsoever. Because it's a waste of our money to send people out there from our quality of life team, and they just go, no, I don't want any services. And then there's nothing we can do. And that's the tough part.
The thing I'm talking about doing is breaking up the encampments and making it difficult for people.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. A question for the city manager. Don't we have an agreement with Caltrans that our police can go up and break up homeless camps on their property?
A little bit, but actually Caltrans has been an amazing partner in the last couple months. They have actually probably done more.
Oh, good.
They've exceeded our expectations. They probably are spending more time and effort in El Cajon than they are anywhere else right now. So kudos to them. They've been amazing partners. But they have the same problem we have. can't force someone to go to rehab. You can't force someone to go into shelter. You only have limited resources. If you move them from one on-ramp, they're going to move to the next on-ramp, right? And so they experience the same thing we are, but they've been really helpful thus far.
Thank you for that, because I did not know. I hadn't been in contact with them.
But I would think that if they keep on getting moved around in El Cajon, and they don't want to get into a program, which I think they desperately need, because I think about 95% of them are on drugs. Isn't that correct, Mr. Mayor?
That's my opinion.
And you're in the business, so your opinion on that carries great weight with me. So I think they're going to go take the path of least resistance, which may be not staying in El Cajon. I mean, I know that the state ties our hands on a lot of things, but if we're out there, move now, you know, that's going to have some effect, I would think, and bust them, and if we can, take their drugs.
I think the reason I first brought this idea up was because what I noticed driving around El Cajon on the weekends is that everybody comes out and camps all over every place on the weekends because they know when we're coming.
Right.
So if we could mix it up and double our efforts, we get more results.
Yeah, I agree.
I looked at this as a weekend supplement that require extra police and extra public works. That's the cost. Let's not underestimate the same people who say, we know there's nothing going to happen on Saturday and Sunday. As soon as we change it to say, well, we're going to move Wednesday's people to Saturday, they're going to say, so now we have Wednesdays and Sundays that are enforcement free.
Yeah, I think you have to randomize it.
So,
and increase it from how many days a week are we doing right now?
Usually 2, sometimes 3 times a week.
Yeah, so if we increase that to 5 days a week that were randomized, it would probably have more effort.
My question is more along a legal lines. You can seize things which are spoiled or spoiled is probably the best word I can think of when it comes to wet clothing, food containers, things like that. And I think many belongings that I've experienced to pick up are spoiled. And if you lose half your stuff, even though you that's your world, it's your world, spoiled or not. And if we can get a little tougher on some of these encampments, rather than just move along and we'll clean up after you, but, well, you know what, we're going to go through that, and that goes. And whatever you can fit in that thing, you can take with you. That's the only thing that we haven't tried yet, and that is a legal issue.
We do that. We do that. The challenge is that in 2 things. One, Mr. Kendrick's exactly right. At some point, people will move along if being harassed over and over again. The problem is, and we experienced that during that 72-hour blitz that we did, it worked for about a week or 2. And then they all came back because you have to do it all the time. It's not 72 hours. It's 365, 7 days a week. And that's way more than $1.5 million. That's a challenge. To Mr. Goebel's point, we do that to a certain degree, but we're right on the edge of whether we need to provide storage for stuff. And that becomes another huge expense if we have to do that.
Okay, great time to bring this up, the storage of stuff. If you are cited for illegal lodging, under some circumstances, you can seize all things. They must be held in a public works yard for a period of up to 60 or 90 days or something like that for them to get. That is a cost. That is a whatever. Is that a, is that even a viable, not practical, not financial, is it even a legal possibility for us to do that? That stuff, all of that goes to the yard.
Yes, the governor's our own governor's own sample encampment resolution calls for the ability to throw people's personal belongings away if they meet certain criteria. And what you just described, Mr. Goebel, are all the things that under the governor's sample resolution says you can.
Okay, so let's start there.
Yep.
Now, we know that we don't have a public works yard to handle things for 200, 400, 300 people in the city. But could we start with 10? Could we start with 20 to create a culture that this is not as easy as it has been in the past? Things might start to get more difficult.
With money, yes, absolutely.
And when you start with 10 or 20, the cost isn't the same as if you have 200.
Disagree. It's almost the sum of almost the same, because you're going to hit this economy scale, because you still have to have someone that inventories all the stuff. This is what has to happen. You have to inventory the stuff that is taken, identify the person, store it, and then you have to have somebody available then when they come at any time. They're allowed to come any time during business hours. Then they have to prove that they're that person. They have to retrieve. So whether it's 10 or 100, there is some basic level of cost. Does that make sense?
It does, but let me follow up and say, okay, inventorying. I think we're getting scared about you got to have 1 book, 2 shirts, 3 this. I think it can be 1 bag that's sealed with a serial number like they do with trucking containers. It's got a seal on it, so nobody has been in that bag. And it's got tag number 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know what? We're just going to put that bag against the back wall. And nobody's been in that bag since it got here.
Agreed.
That's inventory.
That's great. But it takes someone to do that. That doesn't happen in the ether, right?
Agreed, but we haven't tested that to see if it would change the culture.
Correct.
So, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah. If you're going to do a sealed bag, you got to know what's in the sealed bag. You can't just say 1 sealed bag, 12 inches by 12 inches with a tag. Because we get claims monthly of stolen or lost items that are precious. Their money they claim is taken from them, that's not returned when they went to pick it up. Their keepsakes and family heirlooms and jewels, and I don't know what else comes through there. There's Dave. He can probably agree to some of this stuff. We got to deal with those claims. That's a whole new thing. So and before you go on, we've had this years ago where there wasn't a proper identification of things, and there was a large lawsuit against the city, if I recall. I wasn't here at the time, but I understand there was a lawsuit that resulted in the city being responsible for some damages to homeless personnel when that wasn't properly inventoried.
And we don't know how those were secured. Just like the police handle evidence. They put it in a box. They put tamper-proof tape across the box so that you know if that box got opened, somebody opened it. There's an easy way to say whatever goes in this box, that's your stuff. Here's the seal. Here's the number. They do it trucking containers. They do it police evidence.
I defer to the police department and their property room about how they keep track of things, but I seriously doubt that it meets the approval of a court in a criminal prosecution to say this bag had, oh, by the way, it had XYZ, when there was no inventory that identified that specifically.
Okay, we're getting into a different discussion, but I think we're trying something to say, let's change the way we do things.
Hey, Graham, I want to ask you, we're already doing this program to some degree, right? You're doing it a few days a week. So how does that problem being dealt with right now?
Right now, we don't store people's belongings. We have them take what they can take, and if they leave things behind, it's considered refuge, and we throw it away.
So can't we do the same thing just at a higher, more days per week?
We can, but I think what I heard was it does, both processes take a long time. We can continue to do that, but I think Mr. Goebel was talking about changing the culture, because we can be a little bit more aggressive if we can store people's stuff as well.
Can you explain that? How we can be more aggressive by storing people's things as opposed to them abandoning it?
We just take everything.
But they'll get it back.
They can come and get it.
It's harder for them to go through the process, yeah.
If I may interject something, I think in trying to put something together, look at Lemon Grove. Lemon Grove did the storage for a period of time. Let's check with Lemon Grove and see how their program went and why did they end it. The other option is, instead of El Cajon, and maybe it might be cheaper if we were to rent property, that property gets picked up from them, put in someplace else outside of El Cajon, and then they would have to go to out of El Cajon to pick up their stuff and maybe not come back.
Let me make this suggestion. If we're all in agreement that it's worth spending a little bit more money to increase the enforcement and to make it more difficult to be homeless, could we then give that basic concept to Graham and have him come back with a plan that addresses, so, you know, if you want the A plan, it costs $1 million. If you want the B plan, it's $1.5 million. If you want the C plan, the deluxe, super deluxe, that's $3 million. And then we can decide as a group which levels that we can afford and we want to implement.
I love that idea. I just want to have a couple. I didn't get a chance to have comments for this quality of life team coverage. I think it is incumbent upon this board to spend the money on this. I think this is what the public we hear from the public consistently the most. I think that that's what the public wants. I think it's what the city needs. Graham, I think your idea of, or staff's idea of just full court press for 1 year, that's exactly what we need to do to change the culture, to Mr. Goebel's standpoint. I would be curious, I had a little sidebar with Steve here, with the concept of introducing something new to be more effective in cleaning up encampments. And Councilman Goebel's idea was the storage of it, or seizing it, taking it, and storing it. Is that effective based off of other cities? Maybe that might be something that staff could do. Have they seen how long does it sit in storage, which would be indicative of them not coming back and getting it? And I don't know what the time frame is, but is there any other methods that other cities have implemented to increase the effectiveness of cleaning up encampments and changing the culture within the city? That would be the question that I would ask. And I love, Mr. Mayor, your idea of let's come up with enhanced enforcement, however you guys see fit with Public Works and Chief of Police and other cities, and you give us a menu and say this, or that, and then we make that decision.
So I don't see anybody uncomfortable with the idea of having Graham come back to us with options. That's a good idea. Okay.
Can you give me some parameters on how much money for A, B, and C? Because that's dependent on...
From an annual?
Yeah. Half a million, million, and 2 million?
I would say 500,000, a million, and 15, and 1.5. But unless anybody's...
Sure.
And it's one-time money, not annual money.
Right.
Yeah, one time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this may be kind of out of the box, and I don't know if it's feasible, but we could buy, I've seen these high school lockers for sale, surplus, really cheap. And if we stuck a bunch of those over at the old animal shelter, and put them in there, they already got a bunch of cages for something that's even bigger, and then they can have access to it. Maybe contact somebody next door at the fire station, or we have a clerk that has a couple different duties. One is, I know one of their clerks left, and one is, okay, you call this number and they'll meet you over there and open up your locker for you.
Remember, when we confiscate, it's more than a high school locker's worth of stuff. It's more like
tents,
a bank of high school lockers of stuff.
Okay.
That's typically
well, then
what
we use
gets
the
confiscated.
cages.
Yeah.
Well, remember the city of San Diego did a program like this where they used the EDCO-style bins for people to store stuff in, and they had a dedicated building. I don't think that went anywhere because I don't think people said, oh, I'll just come and get my stuff from there as I want to. But that was an example of a product they used to store things.
One more thing I want to address, since we are increasing the frequency of this, I think it's important to address the effect that it has on staff, on police and Public Works. We just honored them, Public Works, and doing this isn't easy. And so, from a morale standpoint, they signed up to do the job. They got to do the job, but it might be good to think about that from a morale standpoint of consistently cleaning up.
I appreciate that. And we think about that. And they did not sign up to do this job. When most people sign up to be a police officer,
That's what I meant,
or
yeah.
a street person, they
Yeah.
did not think they'd be assigned to do this.
Correct.
It's not only physically taxing,
mentally,
but it's emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to throw people's stuff away day in, day out.
Yeah. So I don't know how you address that, but I know it needs to be addressed. And so what in all of this, we're asking more of them, so it's going to be a more emotional, mental, spiritual tax. Some way to address that.
Or don't rule out using third-party contractors to help carry the load.
When it comes to impacts on Prop 36, what direction did you know that?
Oh, I just you're okay with us coming back at the end of the year? I just wanted to give you that wasn't looking for feedback. I just want to give you kind of a gut check of where we're at. We're doing some good stuff with Prop 36.
I think communication with the DA's office is important there because I know they're getting their own numbers and things like that, so we could supplement it with that.
And I think your suggestion about Citizens Academy was to shelve it for the time being?
That's correct.
Anybody have objections to shelving the Citizens Academy? Then you have everything you need?
Is the council interested also to sort of reset or reevaluate all of our homeless programs? I know we bring forward an update where we kind of say, is this the right direction? But I think we're at a point where we've been doing some of the same stuff, and I think we're pretty successful. But it is now the time to maybe look at our service provider complement that we have. Is that something the council would like us to look at?
Yeah.
I like that idea. I think there's been some leadership changes amongst many organizations, and so I think that's important.
And some philosophical changes that have resulted in more 911 calls in some instances.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. We can work on that too.
Angela, do we have speaker cards on this item?
No speaker cards, sir.
Okay. Do you need a motion, Graham, or do you just?
I think I got all the feedback we needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Then, does anybody have anything else they want to say, or can we move on to the next thing? Okay. Item 12 is my activities report. I did not get mine in time, so most of my activities will be on the next activities report. Councilmember Goebel.
As reported.
Mayor Pro Tem Gary Kendrick.
As reported, with the addition of the Heartland Fire Communications Authority meeting May 22nd.
Good for you. Councilmember Mitchell.
As reported.
Councilmember Ortiz.
It is as reported.
All right. There are no joint councilmember reports, no general information items, and no first or excuse me, no first or second reading ordinances on today's report. That brings us to closed session. I'm going to ask our city attorney to recite the title and lead us into the closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council is going to meet in closed session on two items. Both are conferences with legal counsel for anticipated litigation. The existing facts and circumstances are as described in the agenda, and I'll paraphrase. The first has to do with the issue involving the discovery of a hidden camera in our fire department facilities by AMR employees. Not AMR employees that put it there, but AMR employees discovered it. The second has to do with the question that's come up between the Attorney General and my office that it leads us to believe that the Attorney General takes a different approach as to what the enforcement options are for the use and disclosure of information from an automated license plate reader data that we collect, and whether it can be allowed to be used or given to out-of-state law enforcement agencies.
Thank you, Councilor. I'd like to make a motion then to adjourn to closed session.
I move that that the council adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back from closed session. I'd like to let our city attorney report on the actions taken in the closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in closed session on 2 items that were involving conferences with legal counsel on anticipated litigation. They gave direction to the city's attorneys in both actions.
Great, thank you. This brings us to adjournment, the regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 27th day of May 2025, is adjourned until Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 at 3:00 p.m. Thank you very much.